So, the game is a first-person medieval realistic RPG, which means that it's a mixture between Witcher and Skyrim, basically. We owe a lot to Elder Scrolls series in terms of game mechanics. It's very similar. We gave player a lot of freedom and a lot of things to do that are similar to this game. You can go almost anywhere. You can pick locks, pickpocket people, wreak havoc, kill almost anyone. So in this regards, it's quite open world sandbox where you can do almost anything. But unlike Skyrim and like Witcher, we put a lot of emphasis on the story. So each quest has multiple solutions, there are moral choices, there are very interesting characters and stories. Not every quest is necessarily has to be solved by violence, so we have a lot of quests that are just by other means, like either stealth or just by talking with people, providing them some services and stuff. The whole game is based in real world history and real world. The places that you can see in the game are actual places. So for example, this monastery in the background, it's one of the biggest locations in the game, but it stands today. It's almost it looked almost exactly the same. It wasn't never finished. They started to build the monastery at the time, so it's unfinished, as you can see, and it's in this exact state today because thanks to the war that happens in our game, they never finished the monastery. So it looks like this. This is Alpha 4 that we are providing to backers in a couple of weeks after E3. This was the original Alpha that is available for some time, very small area. Right now we make it a little bit bigger. It's 3 square kilometers, and the clouds covers the total size of the world, which is about 16 square kilometers. So it's going to be quite a large world. I would say that it's comparable to Skyrim, a little bit smaller maybe, a little bit bigger than Oblivion. It's not going to be as densely populated as some of the fantasy games, so there's not going to be a dungeon every 100 meters like people are used to maybe, but our goal is to make it inhabited by events, more like Red Dead Redemption, for example. So when you be traveling, you will meet people, you will meet some events that happen in the world. Important thing to say is we actually, I think that the graphics look nice, but they are not the biggest hardware bottleneck for us. What's the hardest thing for CPU currently is the AI, because we simulate basically every character. They are not just standing there waiting for you to do something. They really do have daily routines. They really do have some, let's say even will. So they have some preferences. So for example, this guy is making swords during the day, but he goes to dinner, to lunch, he sits in the pub in the evening, and it goes as far that, for example, the pub can be full in the evening, so he arrives late and he is not able to sit somewhere, so he goes somewhere else based on his given preference. You can also mess up with the world, so you can kill the entire village, but unlike other games, in our game, ideally, when you do such thing, there is a proper response. And that response doesn't mean that everybody will just want to kill you. But for example, if you do it secretly, nobody knows who killed the village. There will be other people will be super suspicious to any outsider. They will not want to deal with people. They will be asking, guards will be more suspicious. They will give you a body check, like check your inventory if you don't have some weapons. And so we want to kind of push it to the next level in terms of believability of the world. Currently in the alpha we have like 5 quests. It can take more than 5 hours. You can spend more than 5 hours playing the alpha. And we are going to be showing one simple quest about this mysterious smoke on the horizon. So this is the bailiff of the village.
Where's that smoke on the horizon coming from?
I wish I knew. It looks like the Corbin's estate. Would you go and have a look there? Just see what's happening and then come back to me.
All right, I'll let you know if I find out anything.
So bear in mind that the facial animations and the characters are just temporary right now. We are going to use full facial motion capture with the actor likeness. So this is going to be replaced, and the voiceovers are also done by just 2 people, some amateur actors, just to have something before we do the proper thing later in the development. Now something about the world itself. As I said, it's a real world. We build it around the satellite height map. So basically, if you go to the locations, the terrain is going to look the same. Of course, the forest and everything changed a little bit over the 500 years, but you should be able to recognize where you are. And we go to such depth that, for example, we don't have herbs or flora generally that wasn't present at the time. So we don't have tomatoes, we don't have corn, we don't have white chicken, for example, because there were only brown chicken. We were told by someone who understands chicken on the Twitter. So we try to be pretty accurate. Another thing that, as we have time, and Toby is going to travel to this forest, soon you will hear music, and it's another thing I'm quite proud of because we have a adaptive music system. But many games claim that they do have it, but it's actually just changing the tracks as you go around. In our case, we have a full live symphonic orchestra soundtrack, but it's recorded in a way that basically we have a sound engine behind it. So for example, you are traveling on a horse and the track really seamlessly, it's not some crossfade, seamlessly changes from one track to another. If you are attacked, the track continues but seamlessly changes into a fighting track. It's quite smart, I'm quite proud of it, and I don't think that anybody did it before. So another thing that makes us a little bit different. Now, since we reached the farm and something really bad happened here, let me tell you something about the story behind the game. So basically, it takes place in early 15th century, where a king called Wenceslas was heir to the famous Emperor Charles IV, and the problem was that he didn't want to become an emperor. Everybody does want to be an emperor, but he didn't. He preferred alcohol and women. And so his brother, who was a king of Hungary, kidnapped him to force him to be an emperor or to step down and let him be an emperor. And at the same time, when he did it, he invaded the country with his army to plunder the silver mines. So it started a kind of ugly civil war in which your hometown was burned down because it was next to the silver mines, and your family was killed. Now you are in the service of a noble who was a friend with the king before, and he's trying to help the king from captivity and restore peace, and you are one of his men who is trying to help him. So in this case, what happened here is that some scouts of the invading army, who happen to be humans, which are kind of Eastern nomadic Tataric warriors that were core of the Hungarian army, attacked the farm where they were looking for food or something, and these guys were sent here to restore peace and protect the area from future attacks. So in this side quest you can help them, in this case for example, make some remedy for the dying friend of this guy. You can find a healer to help injured soldiers from this attack. And you can solve several other smaller quests in the camp. Most importantly, you can train with those guys, join them, and try and help them find the remaining attackers and finish them. So this is just a side quest, but there are several different options what you can do in it. You can use different approaches how to solve. You can let the guy die without helping him. It will affect his friend. He will not help you in the future. There is somebody who is stealing the rations in the camp. You can buy the rations from him. You can report him to the captain. You can steal his stash hidden in the forest. There's a lot of things you can do, and as I said, no quest has a single solution. We try to be as much. We try to give the player as much possibilities as possible. If Toby looks to the left, you can see the scope of the world. Basically, the last layer in the background is not accessible, it's just the border of the map, but everything in between is going to be accessible in the final game. So it's quite a large world, and I would say that the vistas are quite nice, and it's also a little bit different than these generic worlds in most fantasy games, I hope so. This is the camp of the soldiers that are sent to protect the area. Here you can train with them to be to be actually able to fight with the attackers. And now it's time to tell you something about the combat and the armors. So we have a quite sophisticated clothing system. We have 16 slots on character. We have 4 layers of clothes or armor just on the upper body, so you can layer actually your armor. And it's necessary to do it because each type of armor is good against different types of attacks. So for example, if you have a helmet, it's great, you are protected against swords, but the problem is when you are hit with the hammer, so you need something soft underneath the helmet to be protected against blunt attacks. And that applies to everything.
I'd
Also,
like
the
to
armors
try
have,
that too.
the armors have different. They produce
Here's
noise,
the 10
so they are not
Are you sure? What the heck?
good for stealth.
Out of the
They
arena.
will make people. The more expensive armor you got, the more people are either afraid of you or respect you a little bit more. So there's quite a lot of game mechanics behind it and a lot of fun, I would say. The combat itself is first person, which is maybe weird because nobody did it right before, so it's quite risky and it's probably the toughest feature to do right in the whole game. The unique
call
thing
that
that
combat?
we do is that it's physics based, so every time you actually hit something, there's a proper physical reaction on your sword, on the enemy. The swords clash with each other. It's really hard to program, but it's really pushes the combat into next level.
Looking for more?
It's also at the same time not just some one button mashing. You can see that you can select
What's
the
up? All washed up?
direction of the attack, and on each direction you can choose if you want to slash or stab the enemy.
Come here, Lily
So
Liver.
that already gives you several different types of attacks. But on top of that, we have up to 20 combos for every type of weapon. So
You're finished.
suddenly you have a lot of variety during the combat. And
Give up.
also,
Had
when you
enough.
get too close, there are pummel strikes. You can push,
Come
kick,
here, little
or
liver.
punch the enemy. And plus, we have some kind of slow motion bullet time, fencing bullet time. So when you get, you can block. You can hold the block, and you will basically deflect everything until you have enough stamina. But if you press the block at the right time, you will perform something called riposta, so you will flawlessly counterattack, and it's unblockable from the enemy. And during the slow motion, you can even choose which type of counterattack you want to do. So there's a lot of variety in combat. Another important thing is that it's stamina based, because when you have a full plate armor, you are almost invincible. So to kill an opponent, you need to first exhaust him. So that's why the stamina is interconnected with the health. So basically, you exhaust him, then you are able, for example, to push him to the ground, and then you are able to stab him with the dagger in between the plates and finish him with one move. The same he can do to you. So there is no difference between player and the NPCs. They all have the same mechanics and armors and everything. So that all together makes, I would say, perfectly sophisticated and combat with a lot of variety. That's not gonna get boring. It still needs a lot of polish. The game is still a year from release, but I think it works quite nice. And currently we have just long swords, but we plan to have like 9 different types of weapons. So there'll be short swords, sword and dagger against knights, sword and shield, maces, hammers, sabers. We probably will not have pole arms because it's very hard to do it with physics. So maybe we'll add them in the future. And of course, we are going to have bows and hopefully crossbows as well. So if we can proceed to the archery, it will be. Toby will have to lockpick a chest in order to get the bow. So that's another feature. We have a lot of mini games. Because we want the player to be really immersed, so everything you do should be a gameplay. So, for example, alchemy, as I said, you can really prepare potions by actually standing in the lab, mixing stuff together, cooking it, and following recipes. So you read in a book that you need to boil the water, put something into it, wait 2 turns of the scent clock, then pour something more into it, and if you do it wrong, you will fail, or you may cook something else. But if you do it right, you will have a potion. The same applies for lockpicking, which is the most abstract minigame because at the time it was quite easy to pick locks if you had a master key. Basically, the only thing to pick lock is to have some universal master key, and then with just a little bit of luck, you were able to unlock almost anything. So, in order to be much more fun, we made it a little bit more abstract. But now bows. Bows are quite ultimate weapons, as real bows actually are. But so to make it how do you say it, balanced, so you are not able to kill anyone, anywhere, anytime, very quickly, they are also very hard to master, as you can see. There is no aiming cross, but even if you make a point on your TV, it wouldn't work because the line of sight and line of the arrow are crossing somewhere, and so the point changes with the distance. And you have to get used to it and master, like be able to pretend where the point is in order to be able to shoot properly. It's also stamina based as everything else, so drawing your arrow is quite hard. We actually worked with a guy who has a lot of old English bows, so I personally tried to shoot a bow, and to be able to draw it to the full, it's like 130 pounds weight. It's the strongest ones. So I was able to do it to this point, not to this. And I was told that the bow can even explode if you do it for too long. So the wood will just collapse. So it works this way in the game as well. So your hands start to shake, and when you run out of stamina, you will release the arrow because you are not able to hold it anymore. But we have an archery potion that kind of simulates right now as you get more skilled. So it zooms a little bit, it helps you aim. The handshake is a little bit lower, and it's much easier. But to get to this stage, it will require a lot of training. I don't know how we will solve hunting because the animals tend to run a lot, and I was trying to shoot a rabbit, and it was almost impossible to be successful in it. Some bigger targets are easier, but small animals are almost impossible to shoot. Well, Toby can walk into the forest and show you a little bit more of the visuals, but that's about the core features of the game. This alpha is going to be released like in 2 or 3 weeks, hopefully by the end of the June, for the backers of the game. And we plan to release beta, which will represent about 20% of the total main story by the end of the year, and the game should be released. In the future, will be when they are finished. You'll be able to go there. And so it's going to be released hopefully next summer, 2016.
Okay.
So if you have any questions?
Yep, just a second. All right. So we have. I know you said that the character was a stand-in model right now, but is there going to be a customizable character, or is it going to be a set one?
It's pretty much set one, just like Witcher.
Okay.
It's a young guy with past, so we think that there might be possibility to change the haircuts or something, but not the face.
Okay. All right. And I just noticed recently with the archery mini game, the grass was blowing in the wind. Will the wind have some effect on how archery plays out?
Well, that's an interesting question. I don't think I'm not the one who is taking care of the mini game, but that's a good point. I may ask the guy who is responsible for it, and But the hard thing is that you don't know from which side direction the wind blows, so it's
Right. Yeah. I just only because the grass was there did I notice it, or did I think about it. I think you said. All right. So you said there is a set story and that it's based on an actual historical event. And are you just going to mostly be playing through these events? You don't have a major impact on the story in any ways because you want to.
Well, the goal of the story is to save the king, and you can't. Well, and in this chapter, basically, you will not even be able to do it right now. In this, like, originally it was planned to be. I don't know if we were on the Kickstarter, so originally it was planned to be like one huge, massive game. We had to, when we decided to go to Kickstarter and self-publish. Basically, we needed to cut the game to smaller chapters. The good thing is the chapters were originally planned, so the story is split into 3 chapters, and some people are afraid that it's just going to be a small game, but it's not. It's like still 50 plus hours of gameplay, so it's quite a big game. But the main story is split into 3 chapters. Each chapter has its own final, big ending.
Climax.
But climax, yes, climax. And but there's also cliffhanger. So the saving of the king is the ultimate goal for the whole series, let's say.
Okay. So a lot of the times in open world fantasy games like this, you get like magical items. Obviously, this game isn't going to have that. So how are you going to like improve the quality of like items as time goes on? Like, are you going to find better blacksmiths, or how are you supposed to judge?
You can
better
see
items?
every item has its quality. State means how damaged or rotten. Food can get rotten over time, for example. And for example, swords. There are swords that are going to be extremely light, so they are much faster, just like in real world. But they also are extremely brittle or easily damageable or whatever. So you will need a skill. If you have the skill like swordsmanship, you will not damage the swords as much. So there are such things. I'm definitely not afraid that the game will not be fun enough because we don't have the magic stuff. Also, we don't want it to be just about grinding and combat. It's the emphasis on story means that there should be interesting things happening, not just running around killing people, but some stuff happening. I would say that if you played Witcher, that the Red Baron quest is perfect example of what you would like to achieve.
So you do have archery potions, so
Well,
where are you
I
going
don't.
to
I don't
draw the
think we
line?
will have archery potion in the final game.
Oh, okay.
This is just to. We will probably have some potions that will make you a little bit stronger or something, but basically, we could say that they will be something like alcohol, which makes everyone stronger if drink enough. So the alchemy should be something like real alchemy was. You were making potions for like some remedies, cures, or some drugs, basically, not some magical stuff.
Is there going to be a survival element to this game? Like, are you going to have to feed yourself
Yes.
or keep yourself well?
You
Okay.
have to sleep, eat. As I said, the food gets rotten over time, so you have to buy food that doesn't rot or get unconsumable over time. There are different places where you can sleep. For example, in such camp, you are going to be exhausted over time. You are going to be hungry. You can sleep when you are injured. You have to patch yourself to be able to heal yourself. So this is going to be pretty hardcore. But on the other hand, well, I don't know if it's going to be at the same level, I don't know if DayZ, but pretty hardcore as well.
Okay. And
Do
so,
kempu a ukaž tu noc, no. Teď se to nemění? Jo. even the night is quite hardcore because you don't see shit.
Okay, yeah,
You need
that's-
to you need to have a torch, and even with torch you don't see shit because it's like 5 meters
Right.
ahead.
Not directed light.
So, but it
Gonna be
looks very
stars
nice.
and constellations that are realistic at night.
Well, the stars currently are accurate for today.
Okay.
So guys from Bohemia, from Arma, were laughing at us that we are not accurate enough. So, but that's the thing is the stars are, I think, part of the CryEngine or so we have to modify it to serve the period we use, and it's not that hard.
Is nighttime going to be, obviously it's darker, but is nighttime going to be like different for random encounters, or like will there be more enemies out at night,
Well-
or more or animals, I suppose not?
We will see, like, the thing is that every character has some routine, so it depends on what we set to the given characters. You may say that the bandits, well, but I don't think that it's logical for bandits to attack at night because they would be
Right.
they wouldn't see shit as
Yeah,
anyone
right,
else.
right.
So, and with torches they would be quite visible. It's like context dependent, I would say.
What about animals? Do animals run on the same sort of AI
Yes,
routine?
they
as-
they have basically the same
Okay.
stuff as people.
And then,
So what about your horse? Do you need to like train it or anything? or-
The horse, you can, as I said, you can buy equipment for the horse and use clothing on him and stuff. But he will level up, hopefully, with you, so he can get better as
Can he
over
get
time.
killed in the game?
What?
Can you lose your horse? Can it die and you have to
can,
start over?
well,
or-
I think that this is a little bit annoying
Yeah.
when you because you have very limited control over in some situations. So I would say it's possible, but it would be hard.
okay.
And crash. Well, but it's the electricity crash again. Sorry, this is not our fault. It's the cables. It happened yesterday. The game crashes sometimes, but
Yeah.
not to the like rebooting the computer.
going along, like keeping in line with the death thing, sort of. Are you going to offer like an Iron Man mode or like a permadeath mode?
That's something we would like to do. It's not like set in stone, but yes, people even asking for hardcore mode. So to make even the survival thing a little bit even a little bit more hardcore than it is, and we have some ideas. Some pretty cool stuff that's probably won't be accepted by normal people that much, but we can have the hardcore mode. But I am not promising anything at the time. We have a lot of work anyway.
It's new.
What? What? Okay, yeah, that's
Okay.
all the questions I have. But
Okay.
all right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.